Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here in Athens, Alabama. I've got my next Bassmaster Open on Wheeler Lake, which is actually in Decatur, Alabama. We're about 17 miles away at a campground. This campground in particular is called Northgate RV Travel RV Park, or something around that range. It's actually pretty nice. But if you guys haven't watched my videos before and you're watching this for the first time because you're interested in truck camper camping, or you've got a truck camper but you just want to learn a little bit more, I've been doing this traveling with my Lance 975. This is a 2017 model. I've been traveling around with it for 6 years, and I do a lot of tournaments and travel a lot of miles every single year out of it, and so I'm pretty qualified to speak on this. But I just wanted to kind of do a real quick video on the things that I look for in a good campsite, in a good campground. For me, you know, it's a little bit different. You know, it's more utilitarian based when it comes to the type of campground that I'm looking for. I'm not really worried about, you know, all the other amenities, you know, as far as entertainment and things that the campground has. You know, I'm not looking for that vacation campground. I'm looking for a nice campground for me to stay at that's nice, safe, quiet, and is pretty functional with what I'm trying to do. And another thing that you need to note is that I travel with my boat, and of course I have my boat and truck hooked up when I take the camper off of the truck. And that's one of the key things that I look for when I'm getting a campsite, is a campsite that is either long enough, like this one, to facilitate the truck and boat as well as the camper once it's off the truck, or one that's wide enough that has enough room for me to back in my boat next to the camper, preferably on the side that has the awning, which is really nice to be able to work underneath an awning if it's raining like it's doing right now. So I have some needs when it comes to you know, having the addition of the boat that I tow with me. But one of the major things that you have to be concerned with, that you have to focus on, is when you're researching a place to stay, make sure that even if you have to call the campsite and talk to somebody personally, you need to make sure that it is a fairly level campsite. You know, truck campers in particular, especially if you're taking it off the truck, very, very important. And I shouldn't say especially if you're taking it off the truck, because even if it's on the truck, you're not going to have a good you know, experience overall with a campsite that is you know, unlevel, especially front to back. Well, I shouldn't say especially front to back. Unlevel in any direction is not good with a truck camper, but it's actually dangerous, and it could result in damage to your truck camper if you get a campsite that is too unlevel, because it's very, very difficult to take off your truck camper like I do. I like taking my truck camper off when I get to a spot, because I'm staying for a little bit more than a week, usually about 7 or 8 days, and so I take the camper off so I have the truck and the boat free for me to, you know, save a little bit of gas, and also just not have that extra weight on the back of the truck when I'm putting in the boat at all these different ramps. And I don't want my big truck camper with everything I got in there at some, you know, derelict boat ramp that I don't necessarily know is secure. But yeah, if you're taking your truck camper off of your truck, it's very, very important to have a very level site. I had an experience in South Carolina, beautiful state park, but they had a lot of very short campsites, and they were like this. So when you backed in, you know, the back of your camper would be pretty high up, and then you'd have to like really put your front jacks down to lift it up to be somewhat level. In fact, in that situation, the front was actually still down when the jacks on the front were all the way, you know, down. So which is not what you want. With a truck camper, when you're taking it on and off the truck, you want the front to be a little bit higher than the rear. In that situation, I couldn't physically do that. So it was pretty scary. And I even had a situation where the neighbor, one of the other anglers that was fishing, that was also staying at the campground, his remote for his Atwood heavy duty jacks, and I've heard of this happening several times before, his remote worked for my jack. So when he was setting up, I went out to go fill up the boat with some gas, and when I came back, my camper was like jacked way up and just kind of crooked, and the slide was kind of in, and I was like, what on earth happened here? And fortunately, the campers next to me realized what was going on, ran over to this other camper that had a lance just like this, told them what was going on, and I can't remember if they unplugged my jacks, but I ended up unplugging my jacks. In fact, since we're here, I'm just going to go ahead, unplug them right now, because that's just good. That's just a good thing to do every time you get to a campground, in case you have another Lance camper or similar camper to yours. And because I didn't think that was possible for two remotes to talk to two different systems, but they do. So just make sure you know that. But I guess not to go on a big rant about it. The big key is making sure you have a level sight. So that should be the first and foremost thing that you ask somebody or look for, because a lot of campgrounds will actually tell you whether or not their site is level. A lot of campgrounds, especially state parks, will show you pictures of each individual site. Another thing that I look for, of course, is the right electrical hookup. Make sure that you have the right electrical hookup. This is 30 amp. A lot of times you have a 50 amp, and you can do a 50 amp, adapt, or a 30 amp adapter to a 50 amp, which I always carry that on board. But if I've got the option of getting a straight 30 amp service, that's what I want to get. Another thing I like to do is make sure that we've got plenty of room, so a lot of width. I've got one slide on this camper, so I want to make sure that slide can go out when I take it off the truck. And that's one thing that before you take your camper off the truck, make sure there's not a tree or a post or something that's going to get in the way of you getting that slide out, because it sucks to have to take your whole camper off, you do the whole system, do the whole process, and then all of a sudden you realize, oh man, I can't put the slide out. So don't make that mistake. I haven't made that mistake yet. I've been close to it, but it's just definitely something to think about. Another thing that is really important to note is, don't assume that a site that has electrical hookup will have water or sewer. Sewer for me is not a must, because my black water tank will last all week long, and probably for a couple weeks, 2.5 weeks or something like that. So I'm not as worried about the black water tank, but of course you have gray water. If you're taking showers like I'm taking every single night in this thing, fills up pretty quick, the gray water does. So make sure that they've got a hookup, but water is not something that, and I was actually surprised by this, water's not something that you should assume is on every single campsite, especially when you go up north. Of course, and this is something I realized in the last couple of years, is a lot of northern campgrounds, especially state parks and things like that, they may have electric, but they don't have water hookups. They may have fill-up sites where you can go fill up your tank and then go to your particular site, but they don't have water on their sites. And the reason for that is because they have a freeze every single year, and that's something I never even thought about. But and it's kind of a hassle. Like when I went up to the St. Lawrence River a couple years ago, got to my campground, I'm like, where's my water? And turns out I didn't have water. I had to put the camper back on the truck middle of the week to fill up the tank again so we could take showers, my wife and I, and wash dishes and whatnot, flush the toilet, that sort of thing. And it was just a big old hassle. So make sure that you ask those questions. Don't assume anything when choosing a campsite. You need to make sure that you're doing your homework and asking the right questions. But really, those are the main things that I'm thinking about. Just space for my rig. I have a boat and a truck. Make sure that you've got enough space for the camper to your slides to go out and all that, that you've got the utilities that you need, and also make sure that it's a level site. Once you get that, honestly, it really just depends on your personal preferences as far as the type of camping experience you want. For me, again, it's just all about utility, functionality, and not really about a vacation type of experience. But so I can't really speak to that. But anyways, guys, just some thoughts on choosing the right campground and some of the things that I've had to deal with over the years. Traveling with a truck camper like this Lance 975 here. I love the experience overall, this lifestyle of living on the road in a camper. But there's definitely some things that you've got to think about. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Let me know if you have any questions about truck camping in the comment section below. I'd be happy to share all my experiences with you. But anyways, make sure you trust the process. I'll see you guys out on the water and out on the road.